when we're trying to avoid calling people in for overtime. So just looking to raise them up to CO pay, same with the civil process, because everybody is still, they're still under the jail as far as the administration goes. So that's the big changes there. There was a request for a court security supervisor, just making one of those positions at the supervisor rate, same as a jail supervisor.
So that supervisor is a new position. It's not one of the four
is.
courthaus people being a supervisor.
No. It is a current courthouse. I have a note to reduce 0037 if we add this court security supervisor. So it would be making one of the full-time courthouse securities
Okay.
current positions a supervisor,
Okay.
plus an addition of the 2 for the annex.
Okay,
So there
that
would
makes
be
sense.
4 full-time, one of them would be supervisor.
So if we were moving forward, we would take one of those 4 out, or one of the 0037s would come out.
Yes. And it would just be
Okay.
court security
41.
supervisor.
So on the 3 lines, the new line and the 2 other security lines, there's only gonna be 4 people.
Yeah. So we have 2 full-time positions currently. They want to make one of those positions a supervisor with an addition of 2 more full-time court security officers to help us serve the annex. And then changing them in the civil process to the rate of pay of a correctional officer.
Okay.
And then we still have the 2 part-time.
Honestly, I see the part-time going away.
Okay.
With 4 full-time people, we might be closer to getting rid of those part-time positions, which would kind of be my goal. I'd rather have the 4 full-time people and start working away from the part-time.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you've had to rely on them very heavily this year.
No, not at all.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. No, what I marked was I marked 0037 down to 50,248, which was 1 position. Well, do you want to put a smaller part-time number in rather than the full number if you?
I think
if you-
it's probably the first thing we can go back
I mean, this is a non-revert, or the money that's not spent stays in this fund, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is that could be a non-reverting. And so, it doesn't hurt anything to have it in there if it doesn't get spent. Let's just review that next year.
I think we'll know by January, honestly. I mean, we have 2 folks that are hired in those part-time positions right now. And obviously, they would be offered the full-time position when the annex comes open. And then,
We're gonna be operating as we are now through at least the end of September, so I think you probably ought to keep the part-time in there
keep it in there.
for now. And the next year's budget would be where we would pull it, I think.
to. That fuel line is in there. I carried it out.
Yeah,
That's pretty much it for that one.
okay. Okay, yep. We already covered the ambulance and the building lease with the EMS part. So now moving to the lit correctional facility, the jail lit. That's where we have the jailers.
So that was reducing 0014 by 1 and creating a training supervisor line
Okay,
for the jail.
So 14 used to be 20?
correct.
Okay.
Is that right?
I don't know, that's what, I mean, it could be on one of those lines that
I think it's, it used to be 19. I mean,
Well,
Okay, we're showing 19 in the book, but
So then there's 18.
Yeah,
18,
yeah, 18. Yeah, 18 at 50,248.
Could you repeat that last number?
50,248.
Thank you.
Yep. 904,464.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask, and we had that line item in there for the jail HVAC, and that was for the controls, wasn't it?
So I asked Terry about that. He said that is, we need to pick back up on
Okay,
We held off,
That
I
was sad.
think, last year.
because of
All
the
that.
chiller replacement and all that we had going on.
but what do we, I guess I thought we had that in there for, to buy a specific controller, like it was a one-time thing. So when you say pick back up, what do you mean?
It's an ongoing upgrade of all of the electronic boards, is my understanding.
Yeah, okay, like, but there's more than one then?
Right,
Yes.
and
Okay.
so I asked him what the remaining project total amount price is, and so there's 3 years left on it. So
Okay,
there's 150,000 left to do it all, or there's 50,000 for.
Okay,
Just to let you know, there's 2 more lines in that budget, but I didn't get the details. On 50, that should be 2. Five, it should be 51, 560, 6.
okay.
Duly noted.
Okay, any questions on that budget? All right, federal inmate.
Okay, the federal inmate is just increasing the specialty pay because we have a CERT team in the jail now, as well as instructors and trainers. So that was last year. The deputy specialty pay was include jail staff,
Okay,
the specializations that they carry. If we have taser instructors.
And that is violent criminals, it's the movement of inmates when there in the next week or so, we have the sentencing for double murder from NHK. That CERT team provides that transportation and security as well. Keep that person safe from anything outside and also provides the extra security there. So, I mean, it's something that they do have to do. They do a lot of training and they do a lot of extra work, moving inmates that are unruly, things like that inside the jail when they come in and do it safely and it's not so we don't incur injuries, things like that. So, kind of like the SWAT team for inside the facility. And so, that extra training and that I think justifies, making sure that they do get a specialty pay compensation because it's something beyond their job description.
And the last page is all the additional tools that have been requested by whomever it covers, evidence lockers. This was brought to me a couple of years ago, when we were talking about building a facility, so we held off. So it's come up again to replace our evidence lockers. New rifle purchases and additional gas masks for those CERT team members in the jail.
I do want to have you note that we did, so this is where we added that other on 010043 for the sheriff's pension, we have 50,000. Just for your notes there to make sure. 'Cause I think your number was different originally.
Added 50,000.
Well, it's at 50,000. It's at 50,000. And let's talk real quick about the cars. I guess I was a little surprised to see that big of a number in there because I thought we were done with the third year of the big purchase.
We
So
are. This is, we're talking about the fleet on the road, that the deputies go out and patrol it. All of that's, all new vehicles, we're waiting on that last shipment. The projection for 2024 is to replace jail staff vehicles,
Okay.
which are hand-me-downs. They've all been pushed from the road to the people on into the jail. Talking about the Explorers, talking about, we still have some, pretty, they're older vehicles. We just purchased one out of the misdemeanor fund, which you guys saw, and that's what we want to replace the jail staff vehicles for.
So how many is that?
Jail commander.
okay.
So what's in here is 2 Tahoes for the additional SRO positions and 5 Traverse. So
And the-
it would be 110 for Tahoes and 250.
Down from what
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But that includes
So-
all their upfitting as well. That's total.
that's everything together.
Okay.
But that replaces court services people, vehicles, it replaces the jail commander, the assistant commander, the sergeant that is, and the corporal, which do the help with the tracking down of people on
work release.
work release, things like that, and that call-in ability and for them, so, but it's replacing all of those vehicles, and, I mean, they run from 2012 vintage to about 2016, 17 vintage on those vehicles, and they are now starting to be that, the money fits, so.
So would 25 start the replacement of the oldest Tahoes,
So,
or do we get a
fun
year
fact,
off?
When I went back to the first group of Tahoes to see where we were on mileage, our highest mileage is 30,000.
Really?
Well, you're gonna drive those
Wow.
I
Tahoes,
know, right?
150,000
Now, some of that
miles.
could be because of COVID, because we
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
doing a lot of proactive patrolling.
But we're on pace, probably, I mean, I don't foresee buying patrol Tahoes, probably not till 26.
Okay. Well, it would be nice if we could have
So-
1 year off to rebuild before we start another
Probably
one.
next year,
Okay.
if he's
Because-
done buying cars.
Yeah.
And what we'll lean on for misdemeanor fund will always be that, the jail van, which I know Carol's super interested in the jail van. And I don't know why you want it, but we can make that happen. But that misdemeanor fund will be used, and the only other 2 vehicles that'll ever need replaced will be the big van and the jail van, probably the next minivan, yes, but the jail van, it still has probably 4 or 5 years left in it, so. Those, we're looking at having a year off, but the Tahoes have held up, they're not putting that many miles on them, and that's kind of the great thing about it, mechanically, they're still holding together.
Okay, that's great.
So, I
We've
mean,
not had any major, we're going through some tires for some reason, but otherwise, we're not really.
I think the quality of everything has went into total. I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
even on brake pads, things like that, they're
Yeah.
just not lasting. So, but with this purchase of vehicles in 2024 will provide that entire change there. And those are vehicles that aren't used off duty for the most part, very much at all, so they're very low mileage as well. So, I think we're on the right path to maintain those vehicles. And plus with this trade-in on this last purchase of Tahoes, Terry Ritchie put together the trade-in list. I think we have 13 vehicles to get rid of.
Good.
And honestly, they're gonna have to trailer a few of them because they don't run, but it's.
But we're
gonna-
paying insurance on them, so.
We're gonna get rid of them,
We can wreck them.
No.
That's always the cash
Well, you always
caveat.
wanna
Yeah.
keep some pool cars.
Yeah, and with that, we still have the Durangos that are pool vehicles, and all those vehicles have less than probably 70,000 miles on them. They're great, they're good vehicles. So, I mean, our fleet will be 100%, probably the strongest fleet we've ever seen.
That's great.
Trade-in values on all the SUVs, even in drive those Tahoes for 3-4 years, they're still gonna bring $15,000 to trade. So, we're gonna be on the upswing, seeing that.
Knock on wood, the guys are they really take care of
They
them.
do.
They're nice
They are
vehicles.
taking care of
really
them,
take
so.
care of them.
But that replaces the jail staff and the transportation, moving people all around and everything else, and we'll have, everybody will be in.
That's good.
Good vehicles, great vehicles.
Ashley, if the moratorium is lifted and they grant us our increase in the daily rate in October, let's hope, fingers crossed, how does the math work out on what it would translate into an annual revenue for the fund? Because I don't know what your new number was that you submitted. I know you said you asked for the stars and the moon and some more stars, but,
Well, I asked for 115 a day,
oh, wow,
and we're at 68.
yeah.
So I got with this supervisor out of the Indianapolis office that I work closely with, and I said, what's the crazy number? He said, oh, probably 120. I said, so I'm gonna go in one on the left. So they don't just.
The disturbed
Yeah,
number, but
yeah,
not crazy.
I don't wanna shock them, but I wanna get their attention.
But,
I do know that it's gotten back to the Indianapolis office, so their chief marshal has it, they've seen it, and we work well with them, so I asked that they really, give a good recommendation. I know they have pulled out of Marion County, they only have 2 feds in Marion County, they just opened up Delaware. People are wanting to house federal inmates, but they're not so open to getting new facilities. We do a lot of additionals for them as far as transport. I think I asked for 45 for our transport. I will not get anywhere near that. But
So I guess will they counter offer, or will they say
yeah,
no?
they'll come
and
back and say, this is what we got through our equation.
Okay.
They have this prorated equation that they won't let anybody privy to. And so whatever they'll hit me back with, last time I went back and hit them again, got a couple extra bucks out.
They do, and I have to say,
I'm hoping,
our,
I'll be happy if we land around 90,
Yeah.
honestly.
our jail staff, I just can't say enough about it. They go really above and beyond for the U.S. government, and honestly, they really do count on us. They have us come transport people from other facilities so that they know, because they get quality work from the people that are here. Our sheriff's office is kind of leading the way on it, and so we try and keep that type of a relationship with them, that they can count on us, and we take some of the more, and Joe can relate to it, the hostile or insane type inmates, and we get them worked out pretty well. I mean, so we've been there outlet, we've taken almost all of Marion counties from Marion County, they bring them to us instead of to Marion County, which is blocks away. They would rather have us do it.
We've been getting all their new, we're down there, if not here, every other day.
So, with that, I think that weighs a lot into what the per diem would be, or what the average cost. Like I say, our people do a fantastic. Security, being secure and proper and professional makes a huge difference. And, so, let's just,
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it'll pay off. So, I do look at an increase, but nobody
Do you think we'll have to wait till October to find out, or would they potentially?
No, so I'll probably hear within 30 to 60 days from Washington. It won't be in effect until at least October.
Okay. So that's inmate fund, and then the next page shows that sheriff's pension trust that we had the other 50,000 for the pension contribution. Now, we don't do that every year because it takes some time to build up, but this was a year we were kind of, it had a balance accumulated that we could use some of. And that come from service of warrants, do I remember that right? Or,
So, yes, but also the sheriff sale.
okay.
fund.
A portion of the fees collected for different things go into that fund, and so it builds up over time, and
Where was the other 50,000 at? Was that in our budget or something?
no, it was in this federal inmate.
Well, okay.
Just
For the inmates.
Federal inmate, it's about 4 lines down.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta get there. Yeah, okay.
01004.
I was looking for it and I was
Yeah.
skipped over it accidentally.
There was also a couple, here that looked near the rifle purchase in Gaffney.
Well, that's that equipment
Yeah,
request
so the
that,
equipment request.
Okay,
that she referenced,
okay.
kind of one-off
So we'll
equipment.
Replace the rifles, for those are for all patrol
I think
rifle
Joe bought those
replacement.
rifles.
Probably.
They've been there almost 20 years, I think.
Yeah, they're, well,
And I think that's the cost for, I think.
Ken
it's
Campbell's
gas.
taught us, so, and he's been gone at least 20.
At least. So, we're getting there. We've got our mileage out of them.
Oh, yeah. And then some.
So you get anything for the
Yeah,
old
you get a
ones?
trade-in, they'll buy them back. I mean, they'll either do a buyback on whatever and I hate to say store, whatever the company offers us and the purchase through an FFL dealer. It's a reduced cost, reduced from what public would pay. Well, the officers can buy those back, or we just trade them in, and they'll give us the credit on each rifle towards the new rifle. And I think probably $300 to $400 per rifle is probably what they'll offer. So, and I'm sure they.
What do the new ones cost?
Well, 55,000, I think that
Well-
was 20.
Oh, yeah.
They're a couple thousand.
They're about
apiece.
$2,000 a piece.
Okay.
Cost for 26
Jeez.
Gonna be starting to do the annex.
minutes. Do you want me to put 60,000?
So, but that's like ammunition costs are starting to come back down a little bit, where it's a little more reasonable.
I'm glad you said that. The taser cartridges on the 040002, that will be an annual thing now because the training standard changed. We gotta use live cartridges during every annual recertification. So that's gonna be, that 5,000 is gonna be an annual cost now for recertification training.
Okay.
It's cheaper to buy real guns than tasers. Just
That's amazing.
price.
That's amazing.
A taser costs almost $3,000. That's on the low end models. I just tell them, why don't we just put guns in the mail?
There you go.
You know,
We're not
you're gonna
gonna-
shoot them instead of tase them.
There you go.
It's a real deterrent. But they're expensive. They're absolutely expensive.
right. Yeah.
They've priced themselves out of the market.
We do have a pepper ball, but that's,
Very efficient.
Okay, that's several budgets there, but all of them are pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Any questions?
That's kind of easy.
Yeah, that was
That was kind of easy.
pretty smooth.
careful,
Wait a minute.
careful. Hold on, there's.
Let's relook. Let's relook.
So, all right. Well, I don't have anything either.
I got it.
I know Todd's got to go, so, yeah, we're,
Todd, is there a government rate for utilities?
No.
I'll ask the question.
No.
Is there a reason there's not a government?
Commercial, isn't there?
Well, for electric, we're governed by the IURC. So they set our rates for us, but no, there's not. But there are commercial rates and PPL rates and stuff like that we have,
So
but
if we have inmates make furniture, we get a commercial rate.
you're probably on a commercial, you're on a PPL anyway. Yeah, you're on a PPL because of the load probably anyway, so.
Make pallets. We,
Yeah, absolutely. They can do something.
we can hook you up some subways.
there you go.
We can do something.
We've got a couple
So
people that do
far,
that.
we're gonna be farming, and making pallets.
All right, thanks, Todd. See you,
Thanks, guys.
Todd.
We'll see y'all.
See ya.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay, I don't think there's anything else from us.
I'm gonna send you that resolution. I'm gonna send you a commissary contract.
Okay. Look forward to it.
It'll be 2 years next month.
Does anybody have any questions about that though? On the flip side of the money wise, on what's generated, what's not generated? Ask the questions. I mean, honestly.
I did forward everybody the email
Yeah.
with the report.
So, it's just like anything, you really gotta you gotta come see it, you gotta come look at it. And, Ashley can sit down with you and talk about what what we project, what the fund has generated, and what it can do. Something, it's just like the federal inmate fund. We do look at the future, and there will be a new facility in the horizon someday down the road. These different projects are what's gonna offset a whole lot of costs for what we've got to do. Something that's important, and we figure it out, we get it done.
Okay,
We're replacing a dryer.
I told them last time.
It's ordered. It's on its way. The garage door is.
The garage door has been a loaner door for 2 years.
I was gonna say, I remember doing.
Yeah,
The maintenance finally brought it to me, so I called Mohawks and went up the chain, and so they finally came out and agreed that it's not the right door. So they've ordered the correct door, because they sent me an invoice for the correct door, and I said, I'm not paying for that, that's not what you installed, because we were supposed to have a springless door, and they put in this whatever, and you can already see through it, because the track has grinded the metal down, and you can see through the door. I said, we're not paying for that.
They installed the wrong door to begin with,
Yes.
and that's what we said, we're not paying for it. And so we've had a loaner door for almost 2 years, so
So I
now
think next
this
week,
month, yeah,
they're
this month.
supposed to
Okay.
put it-
Yeah, I remember when that
Final
happened.
loaner door. Good thing is
Okay.
it hasn't fallen off the tracks and we haven't really had any issues with it.
It probably will today.
Let's hope not. But next week they'll be putting in the new one.
It's a second story in a week for the same company. I have.
Now,
Okay. Hey, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
appreciate it.
enjoy the remainder of your budget.
Yeah, we're almost done.
Almost finished. More. Did you know that?
I think I tripped.
It's a good thing we're renovating this place.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Bob, you ready? I'm sorry you had to sit there and wait while we went through a big budget to get to your budget.
So it seemed like an afterthought.
What's our tab? Anybody look there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
26.
Looks good.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. All right.
You were talking about that.
Well, we only get
About
to see
maybe
you
some
once
budgets
or
were-
maybe twice a
Can you
year,
do that?
so.
Yeah, well, you
Not-
can see.
Well,
The
that's
second time.
Oh, okay, okay.
You get to come up and see our smiling faces.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Bob's doing a really good job. He does my scale every year and gotten pretty proficient with technology. You email all the stuff to me and pretty make it seamless.
When COVID came around, we were kind of restricted by what the state would authorize us to go do. So one of the things I did, there was training we could take, which I did. But I also thought this would be a good time to get it down where everybody is getting emails back and forth. So I got an email address, so now I email copies of the report. But I know that whoever, at any facility, whoever is worthy of an email is getting a copy of the report. It's not just getting thrown on the shelf somewhere.
Right.
And no one really knows what the results were of the test. So now, there's a couple of exceptions. CVS, you can't get into their system. You just can't. They'll give me their addresses and it still kicks it back out. And a couple of smaller stores, they don't have emails. But other than that, I'd say 97%.
Okay.
Couple of things, up until this winter, we had, the system was set up that when you did a test, it was filed under the date you did the test. That's what the state wants to know. Well, it made it difficult to try to go back and do a site history, like in case Clark's, to see how it had tested in years before. So this winter, with the help of an my in-house tech support,
I know her.
we set up a spreadsheet now that I can go in and I can pull up Clark's, and I can see the test at least for the last 3 years. That's what we're required to keep. So now I can go back and look at the former test results and compare them to their current test results.
Okay.
Or ahead of time, go and look at it and say, okay, what was the last report? And then there's something I might want to be watching for when we're doing the test. And then I took some training this spring. It's from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's the mothership, everything that inspectors do. All our procedures and tests and what we look for, they develop a manual, and that's what we use. Testing, so I did one on package labeling, which it gets down into how big the print is and where it's located on the label, how big the label is. It's getting into the weeds quite a bit, but it was one of them. Then they went on LP tanks, both safety and how we check. What we do there is we check for the net weight. Basically, it's like a package check where we're making sure the customer's getting what they're paying for. And the thing we do there is we look at the tank, see what the tear weight is, see what the stated weight is net weight's supposed to be, and we make sure that they've got, mainly for the cages around
Yeah.
those type of things. And then it also went on the constitutionality of search and seizure, what our legal standpoint was, just an overview of that one. But we try not to get to that point. You know. So, other than that,
You know, when you look at weights and measures budget, you don't think it's an important part of our day, but
It is.
how many things do we do that
Yeah.
need to be
Affects
measured,
everybody.
weighed and everything?
And we just assume it's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could go out to lunch with Bob and he could tell you all kinds of great stories. Get in the weeds.
yeah, sometimes you have to get.
Yeah.
But for the most part, but and I've said this before, mostly discrepancies or violations are a matter of not proper maintenance. They're not taking care of things. So you just, the former director state director had a saying was educate before you regulate. So that's what we try to do is explain to them what's going on and why they need to fix it. Because it's just as much of a chance that they're cheating themselves as they are cheating someone. So that's really what you try to get to the point of that first. Other than that,
Well, any questions on anything related to the actual budget? Okay. There's no need to come back in September. We won't make any changes, so don't trouble yourself with that. So I appreciate you coming in today. That's always interesting to hear that background.
okay, all right.
So, all
Thank
right,
Thanks,
thank
Bob.
you.
Thank you
Take
for your
care.
work.
Thanks, Bob.
Let's do EMA on tab 9 real quick.
You're looking for a new position?
Yes.
Well, it looks like he's just changed,
Oh, no, the other one's just changing.
yeah, it's changed it from deputy
Yeah,
director to
assistant.
assistant director.
Okay, I see that now.
And we could have just changed the name.
Yeah. So we did have an EMA advisory meeting that Mayor Sheets and I attended, and the commissioners were all committed that day, and Jerry came to represent the commissioners. Daryl was moving, he moved a little bit of money from here to there, but no major changes, and I think if I remember right, pretty much the totality of the increase was the salaries, if I remember right. Be pretty darn close if it's not.
Right, yep.
And then those salaries, we get reimbursement, half, well, I take that back. It used to be half from cap, and so it's less than 50% now. And the agreement that we have with the city is that the city matches whatever the state gives. So it's closer to more like 40% now. So we get approximately 80% of those salaries reimbursed to the county from either the city or the state.
Wow.
And then the county takes the rest of the budget.
Okay.
And it's been that way, it's always been that way.
Okay.
But just to, that's why the EMA Advisory Committee is city and county.
We just don't see the income on the budgets like
Right.
a businessman would.
Correct,
Yes.
correct. That's when,
Yeah.
when Britt and I work on the revenues, there's a line on there for reimbursements and grant receipts, and that gets rolled into that number that we get to count as revenue to offset that.
Just to let you know, I'm gonna move that down, it should be on 13, could put 11 on her form.
Okay.
So when I put it in, I didn't realize that it wasn't the line that you've been using. So I'll move that
Okay, so,
salary down to line.
Gotcha.
so no big items there for now. Let's look at, well, let's do Wildcat and Airport real quick. We do Wildcat, I don't know where that is, that didn't have a tab.
27.
Is it 27? Okay. Clark can speak to that one.
Well, barely, but yeah. There's really not a lot of changes.
Yeah, only a $3,000 net difference.
Well, and then I can explain that real easy if you go to the last page. Wait a minute, let's see. Where is it? Yeah. 030085. You'll see this rainy day thing. Well, last few years, I think Kathy started this. We were, would have in our budget, like something for rainy day. Well, we've not used it, and it seemed a little weird to actually budget for putting money in rainy day. And we had a large increase from the recycling charges with Heritage.
20,000.
Yeah, because just that area's just skyrocketed, especially since that fire over at Richmond, because Heritage is deep in the middle of that. And, anyway, yeah, it's all there. The only comment I would make, and I know we have some cushion, back on the 030042, being the second page, for insurance, we budgeted 16,000 there, and I'll fess up. We have a 3-year insurance policy, and which we only pay that premium once every 3 years. But ever since I've been involved, we've always just kept the $16,000 in there as kind of like, so, well, we don't want to have a year where we forget to budget for it. So we don't always use that, but it always comes in handy somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yeah.
But is that a good enough
Yep,
explanation?
yep. Pretty straightforward.
Someday we're gonna have to go tackle getting the levy increased, I think.
So was the airport before that or after that?
I think,
12.
12.
yeah, you get higher priority. Wow, yeah.
Brenda doesn't have them. She has a little information for you.
Okay,
If you have a minute, I thought
Sure.
I'd pop in real quick.
sure.
Okay, I found information about that. I called my vendor and talked to him. Apparently, the retainer fee was something that years ago was set up, and it was kind of an insurance for the county that the vendor did their work, so they withheld some of their pay.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not been done apparently correctly. Like, it should have been a thing where so much, came out each year, and the money would roll over, not just 25,000 be put into it every year, and then it doesn't get used, and then so, him and I had a discussion, because he hadn't billed his last portion of the retainer fee from the last cyclical reassessment that just ended for 22, because we have a few outstanding appeals left. So I told him, why doesn't he just go ahead, bill me the little bit that's left from it? We're already working on those appeals right now, so it's not like they're not gonna be done. And then just put that all in, pay the payments, and do away with the retainer fee. He's been with our county so long, like, I personally do not have an issue with not doing that. From what I figured up and what he estimated a change in, like, what he would bill me monthly to just do it all that way, that line item that I have for the contractual services, that money that's in there, the 140,000, would still be plenty to cover it. I also pay the Master's Touch out of there, which is, who mails our Form 11s for
Okay,
us.
okay.
So I feel pretty confident that if you needed that, we could do away with that $25,000 retainer fee. And, he would just bill it all together in that and the contractual services.
So it'd all be in
Here's
that 0003.
Yep, and we'll just do it all out of that,
And he
and,
thinks the 140 is enough.
yes, he
Okay.
gave me an estimate of how much, like, say, next year, his estimate, if there weren't any, there's some additional legislation changes with apartments, I'm gonna have to mail out a whole new separate set of Form 11s. There's going to be one now that's called a Form 11A for apartments. Now they're making us not only assess them by, basic book thing, there's 3 approaches to value. They're gonna make us do all 3 approaches, so now we have to request income, expense, and all these things. So I'm gonna have an additional printing fee with the Master's Touch, and then an additional fee that I'm not paying him already in the contract. So I think leaving that in there, what I would have to pay extra to pay him and the Master's Touch, and estimating, if postage went up again next year, I think that still
Good.
would cover everything and not be an issue.
Good.
Okay, so
Just
we'll-
wanted to
so
throw it
I'm-
out there, that
I'm-
if you needed money somewhere else, then,
Well, no, I just want us to have I don't think it's in anybody's best interest to have that 25,000 in there if we're not gonna spend it.
right,
So let's take it out.
right. So, I just thought I'd pop in, instead of waiting until September and tell you what I found out.
Yeah, all right, great.
you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Okay, tab 12, Airport Authority. This is a really boring year for the airport. We don't have any big projects
Nothing,
going on like we've had for the last several years. So the bulk of what you'll see, if you go to the second page, 040011 Airfield Improvements, which is kind of a catch-all. We've stashed a big number in there. That'll probably go towards either painting or re-skinning the T-hangers. We'll have to do some crack sealing and line striping on the runways, just housekeeping things that we need to do to keep the airport looking good and those kinds of things. We are gonna try to shoot for a new sign. I don't remember if I've reported this before, but we did change the name of the airport officially with the FAA to the Frankfurt Clinton County Regional Airport is our new official name, so we're gonna try to get us a nice new sign that reflects that name out front, and those are not cheap. So, yeah, that's the big thing. Other than that, it's just sort of regular daily operations, no big constructions or purchases envisioned. So, now I may be coming back to you later this year for an additional appropriation that would happen in 2023, and that is that the airport's attempting to purchase the land immediately behind the old Federal Mogul, currently Tenneco facility. There's 28 acres there that we kind of have a handshake agreement on, and we're waiting on a purchase agreement to be drafted, and we'll have to move some money around or appropriate some money out of a cash balance to make that purchase, but that should all happen in '23 and not impact this budget, so.
That's pretty strategic.
Yeah, so the idea there is that that's always been on the airport's 20-year plan as to be the extra build space for hangar space in the future. And if you've ever gone by the Indy Exec Airport on 32 between here and Westfield, and you see the big giant Bex hangar, the private hangar, that's my dream, is that someday we're gonna get an economic development project that wants to have a flight department, to have their own fleet, and that we'll have that land ready to say, hey, put your building right here, come out to your runway, and off you go, you know?
Put 5 letters, Duns. Duns. So it's-
If they want to put it on there, I wouldn't stop them. But
Well, I
yeah,
thought you paid for that. I didn't-
Yeah. So anyway, we're still kind of continuing to move forward with that master plan of increasing the airport's use as an economic development engine. So there you go. That's what that one is. That only leaves us with the auditor and the council, if I remember right. Let's do the auditor. 3. Okay, Brett.
Way down the line.
I really added was a grant writer and manager to my budget. We're just seeing, we're having so many grants come in and and we also, I think, are in need of a grant writer to help.
You may have seen Britt and I looking at each other when Chris was saying, you know, we're a national heritage site and that we might qualify for 50% grants on some of these things. And Britt and I shoot each other a look about, I mean, we think this position can pay for itself very easily.
Oh, yeah, no arguments here.
The gal that we spoke to a few years ago at Farm Bureau,
Oh, Colette?
I mean,
She had that whole list of
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't,
Miss Grant,
Yeah, I'm trying to hide.
I know, no, you can't hide on this one. There are so many, it's complicated. There are
I
so many
agree, I agree,
things.
you need it.
and this is not just applying for grants, this is administering
Yeah.
grants after they're done and the reporting, the follow-up reporting that is so
Well,
critical.
It's, the big thing is to understand the reporting to the funder, but then also the requirements of the State Board of Accounts, because sometimes they're conflicting, but both things need to be reported. And so it needs somebody who's got that mindset that they understand that whole thing. It's really important.
Do you have a workstation, a work spot for another person?
Not now.
Well, or in the new building, will that allow, will you have, I mean, I hadn't even thought of that.
We can probably figure out something. The other thing I wondered about was also that person being more in the as well. I mean, they need to have a lot of communication with our office, but
We-
also with Jerry.
We did talk about that because if you think back to when Stephanie worked as kind of a commissioner's assistant, as she waited to take office, and she got a lot of really important work done. And if we had a person that,
Right.
you know, if there was a window of time that there wasn't a pressing opportunity on grant that could deal with some of those tasks, that, Britt and I did talk about that, and I have not talked to Jordan to see, what, I assume he would probably jump at the chance to have that help, but we could, it's advertised here, but if we felt like we wanted to keep the position in the budget, we could, you know,
It's
zero it
still
out.
inside County General.
Yeah, we could zero it out here and advertise it in January for the commissioner's budget.
And it may not be enough money, but if there are opportunities within the grant, Carol, to,
Right, some grants have an administrative, you know, you can use 5% of the grant towards, you know, admin.
Exactly, that's a good point.
Or 2% or 3%.
Not all of them, but.
Not all of them do, but some do. Yeah.
so it's just something for us to think about as State Board of Accounts.
Well, and look at your workload with your present staff. It's gonna maybe give them a little breath of
Yeah,
time to do their other jobs.
yeah.
And it's really important, it's really important that counties look to grant funding, because it's another whole huge pocket of money out there that, you know, we're missing out at. And sometimes entities do not want to go after grants just for this reason, administering them. And it's kind of a waste.
And it would be nice to have a Colette type person that could look for things for us.
Oh, yeah.
So I put that in the budget. Everything else is pretty much the same. I did do the increases of 6%. I will say that I do feel strongly that if one person in one department who does payroll and double were to receive a 26% raise, then I have to turn to my staff, especially Marcia, who does the entire county. Say, I'm sorry, she's making $6,000 more than you are. Or Jana, I'm sorry, but one of their clerks is making $8,200. Or Cecily, 9,000 more.
That was a lunch topic conversation.
That would be very, very hard for me. I don't have the opportunity to do that without, I don't have another fund. So I did what was requested and what was recommended. But I do see a lot of value for the strong financial team that you have in place.
I understand.
We hear you.
We all understand. And we didn't even start drinking at lunch. Are we still being recorded?
Yes, we are.
Oh, well.
Oops.
My halo's slipping again.
It's okay. We just listen to it for the most part.
Yeah.
No,
Um,
apparently not.
But we, overall, I mean, the budget is just, it remains the same as with just the recommended.
Okay.
Okay.
It's pretty easy.
Thank you for all your work. Appreciate it.
Back to,
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it.
back to the grant writer. I wrote grants for the criminal justice, the sheriff's office. And what she's saying, they're data driven, if you call it a piece of dirt and it's probably soil.
Yeah, that matters.
That's exactly, and if they see them things, they'll kick it right back out, so
Speak their language.
it's definitely, if there's somebody that does that, it's gonna have the knowledge, the working knowledge. Like I had Steve explain, I didn't know if you guys knew the numbers of the stations or whatever. We take it as a grain of salt because we understand what he's saying, but yet he goes out and talks to a group of people, they don't know what station 12 is or station 11, whatever. So, but the grants are just that
Same
way.
way.
You gotta be very black and white. They don't understand, your terminologies is nothing compared to whoever, but if we consider something like that, we need to make sure they're fluid.
Well, there'll no doubt be some training involved,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
which would mean that if we committed to that, we'd probably have some additional training expense on top of that. But all right, that just leaves us with one more, county council, which is tab 8. And this is, while it's big numbers, it's pretty straightforward. It's where we have the big numbers for Social Security, Medicare, retirement, group insurance, unemployment, the council salaries, the health clinic, the HRA, HSA, all of those things. You total them all up and it's a big number. But this is sort of our mulligan year in that we got this is 24 will be the second year of the 2-year contract on the health premium, so we do not have an increase in that single largest line item in the budget, and that makes a tremendous difference. So you see that it doesn't go up just a whole lot. The majority of that is our salaries.
And I lost 11 pounds this past year, so that's why that insurance.
Oh,
premium-
yeah, I appreciate that.
Wanted that to be
I
known
appreciate that.
You
Yeah.
did what?
He lost 11 pounds.
this year.
So our health premiums are lower to reflect that increased group health.
And
Well, I made up
and
the
I don't use the
difference.
grant.
We do have an escalator, annual escalator with LHD, our health consultant, so that is up a little bit. But yeah, there's not much there that's changed, so that's the big numbers. Seed it, the next budget, kind of the same thing, everything in there is sort of on cruise control because we have bond payments for the 2017 and the 2014 bonds. The professional services line item in there, we've covered a lot of ground out of there, different kinds of, whether it's legal or financial or appraisal or just, that's kind of our catch-all there. So that's a good one to have. Economic development, I guess maybe is more the one where we've pulled the appraisals from, but we have a couple of different line items for professional. And then the economic development budget, I didn't think about that, whether we let Shan know that we were, you did get it from Shan? Okay. Is that what it was, 201?
He kept it the same.
Okay, okay. Very good.
It's only 2.5% increase for the
Yeah,
whole budget.
that's great. Cume Cap Development, there's where we had that copier lease that I mentioned this morning under the commissioner's report that we hope will come in a little bit less. The computer and peripherals number that Tim calculated for the year, it's down just a smidge from the current year. We have some imaging equipment in there that I believe Tim put in. So again, this is kind of going to be one of those years where we build a little bit in Cume Cap, where we should bring in more money than that. We need to kind of replenish that balance. So that one is that way. Landfill, we're leaning pretty heavy on this year. We're pulling that cash balance down, and it's largely due to a couple of things. One is that we're continuing to pull that $388,000 payment to IU Health, which was our incentive payment for the new hospital. Commissioner Ewitz reached out to Jordan and I and asked for our blessing for him to take a run at some contacts he had through IU Health to see about asking for forgiveness on the remaining 5 payments. So we're going to make that ask. So we'll see how that goes. That would relieve a lot of burden. The other thing that's changed a lot is you'll see a pretty large increase on the liability insurance. That's what, $45,000 increase on the liability insurance. So just those things there, they've added up to where we've just kind of got a structural budget here that's spending more than we're bringing in. So to help combat that, Jordan and I have had several meetings with Republic, and we're continuing to meet with them, but we've asked them to consider an adjustment to the tipping fee. So we'll see if we can get any traction there, because that agreement is, believe it or not, almost 20 years old, and it's had one adjustment in the 20 years. And so we're trying to work with both sides. Nobody involved in county government today was involved in that agreement in 2005. And the agreement that's in place now was not negotiated by Republic. They inherited it. And so we've kind of come to the table and said, hey, let's talk about having an agreement between the parties in place now. And so we've got several different things on the table that we've been talking about, and it's been a very, very cordial, very positive discussion so far. So I have high hopes that perhaps we can get an adjustment there, and that might help tackle that budget from the revenue side. So we do have I guess the last thing I'll bring up is we do have a vehicle in the budget at $35,000 in that landfill budget. We did not have anybody ask for a vehicle. And then we found out that we actually have 2 vehicles that are in the current year budget when we only had 1 budgeted. So my question to you would be, we had the area plans vehicles, by all accounts, not in very good shape. Do we want to hold on to that vehicle and go ahead and maybe pull that forward 1 year? Because she said that would have probably been in the 25 request.
I think we should, we're trying to hire a new building inspector. That would be that person's vehicle. We can't ask a new employee to take over a rust bucket. If I remember right, didn't we get the surveyor's truck and the area plan truck the same
time, so she
year?
said, yeah, 2014. So we got our money's worth out of those.
It's economic development at its finest. We've got to have, a good area plan and a building inspector.
So that
All the
truck,
stars are aligning here.
that
with
truck
extra.
was a little more expensive than that $35,000 slot, but we could zero the $35,000 in the budget and additional appropriate an amount to buy the second truck that's already here.
If it's in that bad a shape, I mean, it's kind of silly to.
Don't spend any money on the body. Get rid of it.
Well, if by the time we get to 2025, it'll be 2 years of cost increases. And
Right.
so my first inclination when Dan brought that to my attention was that surely to goodness we can find a place that we could utilize that at a current cost versus a future cost. So
Which really, what did he say, 1,000?
I think
53.
that's
Flips the trucks all the time.
that's a base truck.
That's a good price.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
Well, and it's equipped with skid plates. And
Yes.
Four-wheel drive.
The things she needs.
the things that the building inspector needs, you know,
So if you all.
or Liz, either one, I don't care.
If you all are agreeing to that, let's zero, or if you think that'll take it out of next year's budget, but we're essentially saying we're gonna move it to this year's budget, and we'll do an additional appropriation, and Brett, if I could, and Janet, if you could put that on a list to be advertised then for September, whatever the number is from Dan, 53, I guess, from landfill. And we'll just go ahead and keep our hands on that truck.
And get it in the 23 calendar
I
year.
mean, it's here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's ready to be picked up. I guess maybe what we need to do is work with it
In landfill.
in landfill, yeah. I guess we need to work with that dealership and see if we can get a couple $1,000 from trade. There's no
Do we need to talk to the commissioners?
Yeah. I'll let Jordan know all this, but if they know the council's on board, then they can move really quickly. So, okay. Is there anything else? Then the next two pages are just the, for kind of an FYI, or next 3 pages, and that's the bond, 4 pages, the bond payments that we have for next year. Just so that you can see those. So the good news is that we way over advertised the 2023 lease renewal bonds, because that payment's gonna be under 2 million.
I know.
So that was a good thing. Okay, that's the budget. So Britt, we were talking at lunch, I think, there's a lot of these, there's probably a dozen of these that I think we could send an email and say, there's no need to come in September. I think we really only need to talk about a handful, and we could be done, you know, by the end of the morning on the 12th, I think. Yeah, because I think that the things that we need to deal with, I feel like we're gonna have to reach out to those department heads before, and we're gonna have something worked out.
Okay.
We're not gonna hash it out that day, I don't think.
Are you going to make your things?
Yeah, I'm gonna, call the hearing adjourned, so.
And then, I'll reach back to you about what we talked
Yep,
about. at
yep,
lunch.
okay, very good.
Two little girls.
So, what kind of vehicle are we getting?
It's a